Alright, so we are back for another Dokkan Battle video, and in today's video, we are going to be going over who you should pick with your redstone, because of course, if you didn't check your gift box, you do got a redstone chilling in there, where you can pick up one of these free units. Obviously, with Super Easy A's being a thing, a couple of these really aged units have kind of become relevant again, so there is actually a lot of value in who you pick with your redstone, so I wanted to dedicate a video going over exactly that, who you should pick with your redstone. Now, I guess just to get the point out of the way, first thing, pick one of the Super Easy A's, right? Either pick Super Saiyan 3 Goku or pick Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. For most players, it's that simple, because these are the best valuable options. As long as you have units to take on their Easy A event to get the medals to Super Easy A them, then pick one of these units if you don't have them or you don't have them rainbowed. Just because compared to the other units, I guess I can go over their whole passive later in the video, but again, just to get the main point out of the way first thing, they're really good compared to the other units. So pick the Super Easy A's if you don't have them. If you do have them, if you got them both rainbowed, all that going on for them, then I guess your next best bet would probably just be a Kai. Because I know if you pick the Kai, you get an extra 2 Kais for picking anyone. And then, you're picking a Kai. So you get 3 Kais in total. Obviously, you can't infinitely farm Kais, so very valuable for opportunities like this to pick up Kais if you don't need any of these other units. So I would say between the Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks and then between the Super Saiyan 3 Goku down here and then the Kais, those are the best options. But again, if you're missing, or if you already have the Gotenks and you already have the Goku and you're missing some of these other units, I guess there's another option or two that you might want to pick if you really don't want to get a Kai. So I guess just to briefly mention them, there's the Tech Golden Frieza right here. He does have that 80% damage reduction if you're above, I believe, 50% HP, and he still keeps a little bit of damage reduction when you go below that threshold, but it's not as much. So in some events, he can still be pretty useful. Obviously, high amounts of damage reduction like that pair very well with items. So if you want to take on a Super Battle Road stage, Papa Whis, this guy will have the 80% damage reduction and the damage reduction with items. So, he's basically untouchable there, so definitely very good in an opportunity like that with the Tech Golden Frieza. Same thing with the Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. Literally the exact same thing, except the condition for the damage reduction is different. This guy has 80% damage reduction for, I believe, the first 9 turns. So, again, Super Battle Road, this guy will be very good for. Super Gogeta. So, I'm just going to say this. If you don't have him, maybe picking him up here would be pretty useful, because when he gets his Super Easy A, look, I'm not going to say I was playing when he first got his Easy A or when he first came out, but I've heard stories of how crazy this guy was. So, if they're going to Super Easy A him, I'm only going to assume he's going to be damn near the best unit in the game. So if you don't have him, picking him up here might be pretty useful. He's not good now. He absolutely sucks. Let's just clarify that. But with a Super Easy A, this guy, I'm assuming, is going to be, really insane. Yeah, all these guys suck except Gotenks. This guy has, he's got a Scouter going on, and he's kind of good with tanking normals, but still, I wouldn't get AGL Super Vegito. If you don't have Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, this Frieza, this Vegeta, or Goku, then pick them up over this guy, because he's just not all that great anymore. All these guys kind of suck. I guess Janemba and Cooler can get to some pretty solid levels in the perfect scenario, but yeah, they're really not that good. They've aged a lot. All these guys suck. Well, okay, Super 17 can be kind of good in some situations, but again, it's like you got to have the perfect setup for him. He's got to be in slot 2 and 3. He's got to be fully built up. He's got to have a lot of his links activated. You got to make sure he gets his supers off. And with all that, then only will he probably be able to tank normals. And that's just normal. Super attacks are still going to crush this guy. So you got to be very careful with how you're using a lot of these units. That's why I said the main units that you're going to want to pick is Gotenks and Goku, just because they're just actually good. While a lot of other units on here, they can be good, but they're not always good. And then, yeah, that's it. This guy can do some solid damage with his counters, but not really good defensively. This guy, yeah, it's just not really good defensively or offensively, I don't think. These guys still have a little bit of potential for newer players, but if you've been playing for a year or two, you probably have better options. And then, yeah, all these other units just aren't even worth mentioning. And then there's these 2 packs up here. So you get the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, the Ultimate Gohan, and then this Gotenks. I don't know about these guys, but I know this guy got his Easy A. He was pretty useful in a couple burst mode stages for me. So if you really want him, there's that. But I just don't recommend doing that. I know you get 3 in 1 right here. That sounds nice, but just, again, get one of the other units that I mentioned, because this just isn't really that valuable because all these characters kind of suck. Same thing applies with this. I know... Well, no, I don't know anything about any of these units. I'm just going to assume they're all fodder. I mean, I know they're not, like, good by any means, but they might have a little bit of use, like I said, with this Go tanks, where they may be good for a burst mode or something like that. But, yeah, just not really that great in terms of a lot of these options, except these two bad boys. So we're going to go over their details. If you already kind of have your mind made up, you don't got to watch through this if you already know what they're doing. But if you want to know their details, because I'm actually kind of curious as well. I wasn't playing when they got their super easy A, so I want to go into a little bit more detail about what they do exactly. Then feel free to stick around. So, starting off with the Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Apparently their super attack effects don't change, or their leader skill, which is, I mean, I guess that's interesting. I don't know if that's a good thing, though, because, like, I mean, I know this passive is long. You can tell they obviously improved it. I mean, look at this. You know, the difference is night and day. But, you know, this was the first ever Easy A, so his super attack effect is really bad alongside his leader skill. So maybe they could have benefited a little from revamping that, but whatever. Let's check out his passive, see if it makes up for the lack of super attack effect. So, he gets 2 ki, 200% to stats. He performs a crit, guaranteed for 1 turn from the character's entry turn. He gives super class allies a chance of performing a crit plus 20%, and then extreme class allies chance of performing a crit plus 10% for the first 3 turns from start of, like, you know, his first turn, right? So, I don't know how often you're going to make use out of the extreme class part of this, just because most of the time you're not really going to be running this unit with other extreme class units, but that's still very valuable. You know, support, especially with crit chance, which can really make a difference between how much damage you're doing for all allies, super and extreme class, because obviously those are the only 2 classes in the game. So he's supporting everyone for at least 10% crit chance, which is definitely very good. But if it's an extreme class unit, it's 10% for the first 3 turns, so just keep that in mind. It's not for the whole fight. And then this guy gets another 150% to stats for 5 turns from this character's entry turn. He gets an additional 150% to stats and a high chance of launching an additional super when performing a super attack for 7 turns from the character's entry turn. Alright, so a lot of restrictions here. In long events, not really too sure how great this guy is going to be, but I mean, you know, for those first 7 turns, it's looking like this guy's going to be really good. He gets an additional 100% to stats on super, starting from the 8th turn from character's entry turn. A medium chance of evading enemies' attack. Okay, that's good. And then an additional chance of evading enemies' attack plus 30% before attacking. All right, that's good. 60% chance to dodge in slot 1. So if you get lucky, which that's still a 40% chance to not dodge, but let's just say for the benefit of the doubt, you're dodging most of the attacks. You do your supers. You know, you get some stats with that. And then he should be decent defensively with the attacks you take after you super in slot 1. And then keep in mind, he still does have that medium chance to dodge, so you'll still dodge every now and then. And then he gets an additional 150% defense and high chance to crit for 3 turns after evading an attack. Okay, that's going to be good. Yeah, that's going to be really good. So, I'm going to be honest. Look, this guy looks great. You know, definitely, again, out of all of these units, the second best option. Because I think Gotenks is a little bit better, but that might be a hot take. I don't know. But you know, if he just got like 30% defense on super, I don't want to sound like, you know, your typical Joe Smo, like, oh, you know, he's got to have 30% defense on super. He's got to have, you know, damage reduction. He's got to have, you know, guard for the first 10 turns. Whatever. I'm not trying to sound like that, but if he just got like a little bit of defense here, dude, that would have really benefited him, because after he supers, you're losing that 30% chance to dodge. So you are solely relying on this guy's defensive stat. Well, not solely. You still have a 30% chance to dodge because it goes from 60 to 30. But you're really relying on it because, let's be honest, a medium chance to dodge it's not going to be frequent that you see dodge. I mean, I'm sure you guys know. Even with these UI Gokus who have like a 70% chance to dodge, yeah, they don't dodge as much as they should be dodging. So a 30% chance is even worse than that. So it's not going to be very reliable. That's all I'm trying to say with his dodge. So then his defensive stat is really important. And granted, there's a lot of defense buffs. You got 200% here. I mean, a lot of attack buffs as well, but we're focusing on defense right now. So yeah, 200% there. You've got 150% here. You've got another 150% here, but this is just, or no, this is just for the first 5 turns. So that's going to wear off. But then this, I think, is, yeah, for the first 7 turns. So then that's going to wear off as well. And then you get 100% here on super starting from the 8th turn, so we're not even going to count that. And then Yeah, 150% here. So there's a lot going on for sure, but his stats, okay, that's not bad, but that's not like phenomenal. So I'm just pointing that out. You know, you're gonna have to be careful with using him in some situations, at least in slot 1. If you want to throw him in slot 2 and 3, you know, he's gonna have that 30% chance to dodge. I guess you're guaranteed to get the extra stats on super, so then that's going to be a little bit better for him, at least, you know, turn 8 and beyond. So that's probably a better spot for him. But in slot 1, you know, he can still put in some work. I just really think if he got a little bit of defense on super, that would have benefited him a lot. But other than that, all around, still a very amazing unit. You know, in terms of how they handle the super easy A, I think it's great, right? I think it's good. Obviously, more stuff to do is always a good thing in the game, and revamping units that are, you know, just dog shit is obviously a good thing as well. So, pretty good unit all around. And then Gotenks. So, I briefly looked over their kits. Let me just say this. Gotenks has one thing in his kit that just makes him good defensively, just all the time. So, that alone kind of makes me like this guy a little bit better than the Goku. So, just to get into it, super attack effects, it just doesn't change from pre-super easy A, so we're not even going to go over that. And then his passive, 150% the stats, an additional 200% attack and 100% defense when performing a super, just all the time, so that's definitely very good. That does kind of lead you to want to put him in slot 2 and 3, because that's a lot of defense. Obviously, the attack doesn't really matter, but, well, it matters, just defense, I would say, kind of determines where you're going to put the unit a little bit more than attack. So if you get, let's say, 500% attack on super, you could still throw that guy in slot 1 and it doesn't really matter. But if a unit's getting 500% defense on super, then you kind of have to put him in slot 2 and 3 because you don't really want him to take attacks without that defensive buff. Because obviously with that, you know, he's going to be significantly better defensively. So getting defense on super kind of controls where you're going to put them a little bit more than attack. But still, very good. 100% defense when performing a super. Sorry, that was a little side tangent. He gives super class allies 33% defense and extreme class allies 33% attack for 3 characters from the start of character's entry turn. Very good. Obviously, support for virtually every unit in the game is extremely valuable, especially 33% defense for super class units, and then the 33% attack for extreme class units. So, very good at that. He gets an additional 100% attack and defense when key is 11 or less, and then he gets an additional attack and defense plus 50% up to 150% with every attack performed. So, you're going to build up really quick, literally just 3 attacks. So that's very good. And then he gets a chance of performing a critical hit and then reduces damage received by 50% within the turn when key is 11. And all allies attacking in the same turn acquired key spheres. Wait, what? When key is 11 and all allies attacking in the same turn acquired key spheres. Okay, so, so every unit has to get key spheres. I mean, okay, that's not really going to be that difficult. And then you have to get 11 key. Obviously, that's going to be very simple most of the time. This guy doesn't have any built-in key, now that I'm looking over his kit. But what are his links? He's got Fuse Fighter, so that's 2 key. Over in a Flash, that's 3 key. And then that's it. But between this, you're getting 5 key from his links. And then, you know, maybe have a support or 2 on the team. I think every good team has maybe 1 support unit that supports for a little bit of key. Just make sure this guy is on there. And between the support and then the key that he's getting from his links, this guy should be fine, and you should be getting, you know, enough key with him to get this damage reduction, because obviously this is very important. And then he gets a high chance of evading enemies' attack, so having a high chance to dodge on top of the 50% damage reduction is obviously very good. And then he gets an additional chance of evading enemies' attack plus 33% when performing a super when key is 12. So, that's good. Okay, wait, so now that I'm reading this, sorry, I think I was a little confused. It's not when key is 11 or above you get the damage reduction. It's only specifically when key is 11. And then when key is 12, you get the dodge instead. So most of the time, you're probably going to want to go for the damage reduction instead of the dodge if you can control it. But if you can't, that's fine, because what? An 83% chance to dodge, that's pretty reliable. Right? UI Goku has a 70% chance to dodge. So if this guy's got an 83% chance to dodge, I would say, yeah, you're going to be seeing him dodge a lot. And he gets a lot of stats on super, so if you do have to take an attack or 2, it's not the biggest deal. You should be fine defensively, at least for tanking normals. And then with the supers, yeah, you're going to kind of have to rely on the dodge, but again, 83% chance. So I feel like that's pretty reliable. And then, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it with the Go tanks. So both of these super easy A's, very good. Moral of the video, make sure you pick them if you don't have them. So that has been the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know which unit you're going to pick with your redstones, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.